Hi guys, we're here today to talk about my gay dads. I hope you're all prepared.
Quick PSA, I've not given my thoughts on this yet because the shows I've discussed so far have been older releases, but I want to take a moment now to express my support to the current actors-writers strike that we've been in the middle of for far too long now. As an actress myself, I'd just like to remind each of you listening how important it is that we stand with them. We're fighting currently for better treatment all around, but also fighting against some really ridiculous and harmful AI bills. AI itself, I could do a whole video on, but these things that they are trying to say are going to fix the strike and go against the strike are things that could crush my industry and hurt artists across the board. In this video, I am going to be speaking about a show that was aired via a streaming service, but season 3 is on full hold right now until the strike is over and things are settled. We're in a position right now to lose some amazing shows and stories that mean a lot to us if these companies can't get it together and fix the things that they're doing wrong. So if you care about these shows and these actors and creative teams, we really need to be standing up with them and speaking about what they're fighting for. I've linked down below some more info on the strike itself for anyone interested in learning more.
Thanks for listening. Let's get on with the video. Hi guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well. Don't panic. It's all gonna be fine. Good Omens is only 12 episodes, okay? We got a 4-part video series in the works because I can't stop thinking about these two. Haven't been able to stop. So yeah, it boils down to I hyperfixated and now I'm making my hyperfixation everyone else's problem. But I think we're in for a good time. There will be spoilers. This is like me going through the plot of the show, full plot breakdown. I'm excited, I hope you are. Get your snack, get your cocoa or your black coffee. Let's get started. A couple basic facts about the show before we begin. Good Omens is Bible fan fiction. It's a British comedy series based off the 1990 novel by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. Terry passed away, so Neil is the one at the heart of the show, but from my research, it's very clear that fans of the book feel that the show was done so beautifully and with a lot of love towards Terry. It's also clear if you follow Neil online that his friendship with Terry meant so much to him and still does, and that's very clear with like how kind and incredible they were transferring book to show. I'm obsessed, and I've read bits and pieces of the book because my hyperfixation is unraveling me at my core, but I want to read the whole thing and it's on my Christmas list. If I get it right now, that will ruin my writing vibes because I'll just get sucked back into like a Neil Gaiman writing headspace, and that's not where I need to be right now for the book I'm currently writing. So we're pumping the brakes on that. But I'm allowed to watch the show as much as I want. There's no rules there. Talk about the stars of the show, shall we? Let's get into it. We start with Michael Sheen, who plays the angel, the guardian of the Eastern Gate, Aziraphale. I'm gonna be calling him Zira quite a bit because that's my favorite nickname for him that I've found in my fanfiction deep dives. I think people also call him Azzy. I'm gonna go with Zira. I like it. We also have David Tennant as Crowley the demon. Now listen, some of you may have already been here for the rant that I did a couple videos ago about this stupid little man, all right? If you have, it's fine, skip it. You don't need to listen to me do it again. If you haven't, you need to know that this man is a black hole, okay? He has loomed over my life since I was a teenager, and I knew I was very self-aware as a kid, and I looked at him and I thought to myself, no, you shouldn't open that can of worms. You should avoid that like the plague. And that's what I did. For so long, he would just pop up, and when he would pop up, I'd be like, oh no, and I'd be screwed for like a week, maybe a month, but I could recover, okay? I could always get myself out of the black hole. And then the end of season 2 of Good Omens happened, and I knew I needed to know how we'd gotten to that point, and I gave in, and I watched the show. And my best friend Teddy said, okay, now that you've cracked that door open, you have to finish Doctor Who, because we got stuck right before season 2 of like the revamp of Doctor Who. I said, Teddy, I can't. Good Omens is bad enough. If I freaking deal with 10, I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm not gonna be able to do both of these at the same time. I'm not strong enough. She insisted, and I was correct. And then on top of all of that, my partner said, oh, thank God. Can we finally start watching Broadchurch? I'm screwed. I'm not gonna make it through the year, guys. Just not gonna make it. Anyway, let's just get on with episode 1, shall we? Here we go. The show begins with a monologue about creation. We hear the voice of God. We do not see her. She is played by Frances McDormand. Something that I really, really love about season 1, I'm assuming it's going to transfer at least a little bit into season 2, but I haven't seen all of season 2 yet to make that assumption fully. But season 1 especially feels like a play being narrated and shown to us by God. So there's things like she will change the action. She'll like freeze people into place and like zoom in and zoom out of scenes. She'll change the color. She'll control the music. There's all that kind of stuff goes on. And it's really cool because the book is like half written in play style. It like oscillates. So there's scenes that are written like a script and scenes that are written like regular prose. This is just setting us up for the creation myth from the Bible. We're going to start there and then move forward. Also, the earth is a Libra. That tracks to me. Let me know your thoughts. We cut to the Garden of Eden. It is like this walled garden with like a big stone wall in the middle of the desert. We see a big ass snake just come up from the ground, slither over, tell Eve to eat the apple. Eve takes the apple. She gives the apple to Adam. They both eat the apple. They get kicked out. Y'all know how that goes. So we see them get kicked out through a hole in the wall, and for some reason, Adam has a flaming sword. Then we go to the top of the wall, where there is an angel watching as the two of them go out into the desert. The snake comes slithering over and turns into a demon. Absolutely love seeing these two side by side with their black and white wings out on display. It does something to my brain chemistry. I just love it. The demon is named Crawley because you know, yeah, you get it. And he says that he doesn't understand why they got kicked out on the first offense. And also, shouldn't God have maybe like put the tree that they weren't supposed to eat from like anywhere else instead of the middle of the garden? Just seems like maybe God was teasing them about it or something. He also doesn't really get why it's a big deal that they now understand the difference between good and evil. The angel, this is our boy, Aziraphale, he's like, no, no, no. Of course it's a bad thing that they know that now, okay? It's a bad thing because you told them to do it and they listened to you, and so you tempted them into it, and that makes it a bad thing because you're a demon and you're only capable of doing bad things. Let's not speculate about the great plan, okay? It's ineffable and above question. Crawley changes the subject and is like, where's your flaming sword? Like, I know you had one of those. Where did it go? And Zira's just like, couldn't tell you. It disappeared. It's the craziest thing. I misplaced it. It's gone. Turns out he gave it to Adam because he felt bad about kicking the two of them out of the garden. And he was like, Eve is expecting, and there are vicious animals out there, and I couldn't let them go without the sword. And Crawley is like, wow. So like you kind of went against the great plan then, because like you protected them and maybe they were supposed to go out without protection. And Zira's like, no, absolutely not. I must have done the right thing. God, I hope I did the right thing. Crawley's like, oh my God, of course you did. You're an angel. Like, I don't think you can do the wrong thing. I think you're fine, probably. That like makes Zira feel better. And then Crawley points out that it would be kind of funny though, if somehow he did the right thing by telling them to eat the fruit and Zira did the wrong thing by giving them the sword. The first storm starts above the garden, and Zira like lifts his wing and puts it over Crawley, and Crawley like shuffles into him, and they seek shelter from the rain together. Wonder if that'll come back to mean anything important. We cut abruptly to closer to modern day, okay? We see two demons pop out of the ground in a graveyard. It's these guys. This is what most of the demons look like. So, enjoy that. Crawley changed his name to Crowley, and he rocks up in a black Bentley blasting Queen. He just saunters on over to them, and they're like, oh my God, look at him. He's gone native. Like, what's happening? Listen, David put his entire self, everything he had, went into Crowley's walk. It's everything to me. It's so funny and so perfect, and I love it more than I can say. As they like meet up, they all say, "All hail Satan." Crowley is like, "All hail Satan, yeah, woo." And then they get together and the two demons are like, "So, what did everybody do today? Let's discuss our bad deeds." They are tempting a priest and corrupting a politician. And then what do we think Crowley did? That's right. He took down the phone lines. Like the mobile phones, he just said no more. And now no one can make phone calls. So evil. I'm quaking in my boots. They hand him a picnic basket and they're like, "It's time." He immediately is like, "Are we sure? Does it have to be? Could we maybe move it to another date? Also, why me? Why I do? I don't want to." They're like, "Well, everybody loves you downstairs, so you have to be the one to do it. Sign the contract." The demons have fire magic. I don't think I've mentioned that yet. So he just like fire magic signs it with his fingers, and look, that's a weakness of mine. So that doesn't help with the feelings I'm having surrounding Crowley, okay? We cut to him freaking out in the Bentley about the start of Armageddon. He gets spoken to through the radio and gets like instructions that like come out of the radio as smoke and go into his eyes. Also, we haven't talked about it, but he has snake eyes, okay? See the yellow? He covers them 99% of the time with glasses, and the glasses just change as the years go by. So the smoke comes out of the radio, goes into his eyes, he gets his instructions, and then almost crashes the car because it blinds him for a few seconds. When he swerves the car, the basket opens in the back seat and there's a baby in it. We cut to Aziraphale having sushi. Gabriel shows up. It's our boy, John Hamm. We learn that the ethereal beings don't really eat. So Gabriel's kind of like, "Why are you eating? Like, that's a weird thing for you to be doing. You don't need to be doing that." And Zira is like, "The humans eat and I need to blend in with them, so I'm eating. Also, I like food." If there's one thing you should know about him, it's that. If there's a snack to be had, he's gonna be having it. If there's a little treat at the end of the day, he's gonna be having it. Our boy is a foodie, and it's a part of his personality. Gabriel explains that he came down because he needed to tell Zira that something's happening and Crowley's definitely involved. And Zira needs to get information on what he's doing, but obviously don't let him know because somehow, you know, you've avoided each other this whole time. We gotta keep that going. We don't want you guys to know that you're both here, okay? So it becomes clear that no one from heaven or hell knows that the boys know each other. Ooh, also on the note of pronouns and gendering, I'm gonna say he, him things probably the most when it comes to the husbands, but Neil's made it very clear that they are not like human males. They're ethereal beings that happen to be in male presenting bodies. So they go by all the genders. They go by all the pronouns. We can use all of them for all of them. I tend to think of Zira as more he, him, and then Crowley kind of oscillates between all three for me, just depending on where we're at in the show. But just in general, I will probably just say he, him. But I just want you guys to know, because if we start talking down below, people will use different pronouns depending on how they relate to them and want to talk about them. And so nothing's wrong. Nobody's incorrect. They're all true. We cut to Deirdre and Arthur Young in the car together, racing towards a hospital. She is in the process of giving birth. We also see the American ambassador, which is Nick Offerman. He's on the phone talking to his wife, who's in an ambulance, also about to give birth, also being rushed to the hospital. They are fighting. They are not a happy couple. Then we cut to the nuns at said hospital. They are having a meeting and they're like, tonight is the night. The American ambassador's son is coming. We will be taking that baby away from that family and putting the Antichrist into the family instead. Who's excited? We're satanic nuns. I wish I had gotten it on camera when my partner saw this episode with me for the first time, because I watched the first episode and then convinced him to start it with me and we watched it together, and he lost his mind when she turns to them and goes, "We are satanic nuns." He could not keep it together. Oh, this is Sister Mary, and she is not the smartest nun in the convent. The ambassador's wife and Deirdre arrive at the hospital and are checked into their separate rooms. Here comes Crowley in the Bentley. He goes to walk inside and Arthur is standing on the porch having a smoke, and he's like, "Oh, your lights are on." The Bentley's behind him in the shot. Crowley goes and just turns the car off. And I was like, that's it, I'm done. I don't need to know anything else. I'm in love. Arthur assumes that he's the doctor come to help deliver the baby, and he's like, okay, I'm so glad you're here, it's happening. Crowley's like, what room are they in? And Arthur is like, she's in room 3. So yeah, I bet you can see where this is going. We're about to have a baby swap confusion. Crowley runs into Sister Mary, and as I said, she's not the brightest, but also because she's not the brightest, she was left out of the planning, and so she doesn't know what room is what room. He shows up and he says, put the baby in room 3, and she does what he says because he is in charge. No one stops her, and she has no idea she's got the wrong room, so she just swaps the Antichrist with the young baby and takes the young baby away. One of the nuns comes in and sees Sister Mary and sees the 2 babies and gets even more confused and thinks that when she takes the young baby away, she is taking the Antichrist away, and she's gonna take it to the American ambassador's room. But that's not what's happening, okay? So everybody's confused and the babies just got all shuffled around. God takes this moment to like zoom in and be like, here's what this nun is thinking. Here's what this nun is thinking. If only they could talk normally and then no one would be confused. If y'all want to know what happened to that poor 3rd baby, just pretend it was something good. The nuns convince the American ambassador's wife to name the baby Warlock. The Youngs name the Antichrist Adam. Crowley calls Aziraphale, but remember he messed up the mobile phone line, so the call can't go through. We see Aziraphale getting home. He lives in this cute little bookshop apartment situation. It's so precious. Crowley gets a hold of him via payphone. Once again, my fiance lost his mind seeing Crowley in character in a phone box. It was too much for him. They agree that they need to meet to talk about everything, because shit is hitting the fan. We cut to the 2 of them on a bench in St. James Park. God tells us that they've been coming here to meet for a very long time. They tease each other a little bit about who's gonna win when Armageddon starts, as if it's not literally the end of the world and a serious, serious problem. Crowley like digs the knife in and is like, you know, if you guys win, you'll like lose all the things you love. So like no more music, no more food, nothing that you enjoy about being down here with the humans, it will all be gone because heaven doesn't want any of it upstairs. He's like, we have 11 years. We need to just work together and keep this from happening. But Aziraphale is like, no, are you insane? It's the great plan. We have to let it play out. They have a really cute moment on the way back to the bookshop where Aziraphale is like, I know what you're trying to do by being all nice to me and putting these ideas in my head, but it's not gonna work, okay? Because we are not friends. You are a demon and I am an angel and we are hereditary enemies. Get thee behind me, thou fiend. You first, go inside. And like, they're so cute. They spend the afternoon together and then end up back at the bookshop to drink. Just to point out, Crowley doesn't really eat. They go out to eat a lot, but Crowley like won't eat anything, or he'll have something like really small, and then Aziraphale will just like eat the food for both of them. But Crowley is a drinker. Our being likes his alcohol. It's definitely like a bonding thing for the 2 of them because this is the thing they can do and enjoy together. The Youngs take baby Adam home. You know, the Antichrist. We cut back to the boys, just drunk out of their minds in the bookshop. Crowley has a semi-coherent monologue about how if the seas start to boil, all the animals are gonna die and they're gonna turn into bouillabaisse, and that would suck. Zira is like, yeah, and the Kraken's gonna come up, and that's gonna be really scary when that happens. Crowley starts lamenting about the animals, and he's like, it's not their fault. Okay, they're all gonna just notice that the world is ending, and that's gonna be so sad for me. I don't want to watch them all die, okay? Not even mentioning the humans. It's just not fair. Why does it have to go down like this? Aziraphale doesn't like the idea of the world ending any more than Crowley does, but he can't disobey God. He also just can't even say, I can't disobey God. Like, it won't come out of his mouth. He's just that terrified. They sober up by like leaching the wine from their bodies back into the bottles. I hate it. The nuns get visited by this demon. His name is Hastur. He tells them, awesome, job well done, dissolve the order. They freak out because they're like, I'm sorry, but we were supposed to be rewarded for our efforts. So he just kills one of them and then lights the hospital on fire. Back at the bookshop, Zira cannot get over the fact that he cannot mess with the divine plan. But Crowley has come up with a loophole. He says, okay, well, here's the thing. I am supposed to make the kid evil, okay? That's my job now. I dropped him off, I got him to his parents. I need to make sure he's evil. So if I do that, it would be a shame if you were there to make him good at the same time, and then we could sort of just cancel each other out, and the kid will just be a normal kid. That could work. How fun and cute and just totally normal friendship vibes to like grin at each other and talk about being godfathers and how happy that makes you to get to work together for the common good. I'm totally normal about these two. I'm totally 100% normal about these guys. We cut to Crowley rocking up to Baby Warlock's house dressed as a nanny. At the same time, here comes Aziraphale dressed as a gardener. I'm just saying that Good Omens doesn't give a single shit about your gender norms. So if you're here for that, like, you're watching the wrong show. You should go somewhere else. We get a nice little cut scene of Aziraphale teaching him as the gardener to like love all of God's creations, and Warlock is like, but Nanny says I'm supposed to crush them beneath my heel and not care about anyone. And Aziraphale's like, okay, don't listen to her though. Like, please listen to me. Then we get Crowley tucking Warlock into bed. He sings him this absolutely ridiculous lullaby about like the world ending in fire and killing everyone. And Warlock is like, but the gardener said that I'm not supposed to do that. He said I'm supposed to be good. And Crowley's like, don't listen to him. Listen to me. The poor child. Oh my God. Love this moment of Crowley and Aziraphale walking into the high-rise together. It is one of my favorite scenes in the entire show. Azira goes up an escalator to heaven, and Crowley goes through the floor into the reflection of the escalator down into hell. In hell, Crowley lies out of his ass and is like, oh my God, the Antichrist is so evil. He is like the evilest boy I've ever seen in my entire life. He hasn't like outrightly killed anyone yet, but it's fine. He is so scary and everything's going so well. Hell, by the way, is like a really gross, sketchy, dark, cramped office building. Like just your nightmare of an office building. It's the worst. The signs though around hell, I will put them on the screen. Please, they're so funny. In heaven, Aziraphale is talking to the head angels and he's like, I am influencing the kid towards good and it's going really well. No issues. The angels are like, that's amazing, sweetie, but you're gonna fail. And we're gonna be understanding when you fail, but like you are gonna fail because it's the great plan. You think you can like beat the great plan? You can't. Heaven is honestly for me worse looking than hell because it's like a big open white office building and there's no walls and the light is so white, okay? So it just glows. All of it just glows and it hurts to look at. Crowley meets back up with Aziraphale on a bus. Didn't say it before, but the hair he has while he's the nanny is like one of my favorite hairs for him because he gets to do this fun little like half up, half down bun situation. That's adorable. And then while we're on the note of their hair changing, I should say that Aziraphale doesn't really change much. We see him in the past looking different and he'll change with the times, but then once he gets to this look, he just sort of stays here because he likes it the best. Whereas Crowley changes given the time period they're in to whatever is the most fashionable, and he changes like his entire getup, like hair, everything. Crowley's worried about the boy being too normal and he's afraid they're doing it wrong. Aziraphale is like, no, it means we're doing it right and everything's gonna be fine. But, like, say you're right and he does get his full powers, what happens then? And Crowley's like, it's not gonna happen. I'm not even gonna consider it as an option. It's just not gonna happen. We cut to Warlock in the park with his mom, and let me just tell y'all, he's the worst kind of kid. He's just the worst. Like, his scenes just make me want to like gouge out my own eyes. Crowley and Aziraphale are like monitoring Warlock with his mom in the park, and at this point they've got just a handful of days until his birthday when he turns 11, and at 3 p.m. a hellhound is delivered to him. Crowley kind of left that part out, but that was like a whole big thing where like, oh yeah, no, the dog's important. Once the dog shows up and finds him, he'll name the dog, and whatever he names the dog will like set the tone for Armageddon. Aziraphale's like, that would have been great to know. I'm so glad you told me that. And Crowley's like, sorry. Aziraphale is like, I just wish we could figure out a way to stop it from happening before the dog even comes. And Crowley goes, we could get rid of him. You could kill the kid. And Aziraphale's like, no, I can't kill the kid. I'm the good guy. I'm not gonna kill the kid. And Crowley's like, I'm not gonna kill the kid. That's not gonna happen by my hands either. So I guess we're not killing the kid. Side note, calling it now that I would like to come back to Aziraphale saying, I've never killed anyone. I don't think I could. I just feel like it's gonna haunt us one day. So Aziraphale changes the subject away from killing children, and he's like, what if we just go to the party and stop the dog? I know I can entertain the children. I will do my magic act. Crowley has a hissy fit. He's like, absolutely the fuck not. You will not be doing your magic act. I hate your magic act. No, it's demeaning. We can do real magic. You're not doing the fake magic. Aziraphale starts trying to do tricks for him, and Crowley like lets him do it. So we cut to the party where Aziraphale is doing his magic act because Crowley can't say no to him. If that's not clear yet, it should be. The clock hits 3 and the dog does not show up. We cut to the Youngs preparing Adam's birthday cake. Warlock's party devolves into a food fight because him and his friends are the worst kind of children, as I said. The boys run away to the Bentley. In the Bentley, Crowley gets another message through the radio and he's like, oh my god, yeah, the dog. The dog is here, the dog is huge, there's no issues with the dog. No one needs to be worried about me or the dog. Everything is fine. So they spent 11 years watching the wrong boy. We cut to the right boy, Adam freaking Young, in the woods playing with his friends. God gives us a little monologue. She introduces us to his friends. They are Pepper, Wensleydale, and Brian. Adam is their leader, and he's the one that comes up with all their games. Then we see this giant jump scare of a dog show up. This is the Hellhound. Hello? Adam is talking about how badly he wants a dog for his birthday, and Pepper's kind of making fun of him and being like, kids never get what they want for their birthdays. Don't get excited, you're not getting a dog. He's like, I don't even want a big dog. I want a little dog that's really intelligent and I can train to do tricks. The Hellhound hears this and is like, oh, so like you don't want me to be a terrifying murder machine? You don't want the teeth. The teeth were the wrong move. Okay. And he turns into a cute little like terrier looking thing. Adam says he wants to call him Dog, and that like seals the deal. The Hellhound turns into a normal, regular, nothing to see here little terrier dude, comes running over to Adam, jumps into his arms. They are reunited at last. The gang of kids are just like, how did you make, where did he come from? Back in the bookshop, our dads are moping over their drinks again. We learn that the reason why Crowley was even entrusted with this task that he didn't want to begin with is because he's been lying about what he's been doing for Hell. So he's just been taking credit for things that were actually just like human, and they just didn't check to make sure he wasn't lying. So downstairs, they think he's like the most demonic, evil, badass demon ever. And in reality, he's just sort of lonely and sad and a little bit of an alcoholic. There's a fan theory that Crowley is responsible for Florida, and I find that so funny. Something happens, and Crowley starts sniffing the air, lest you forget he is a snake. Aziraphale is like, oh, I got a new cologne, my barber suggested it, and Crowley's like, I know what you smell like. Something happened. The Hellhound found the boy, they're together, his powers are unlocked, Armageddon is coming. Crowley starts panicking, because now at this point they are like officially doomed. Aziraphale is like, well, welcome to the end times. We're now at Thursday, 2 days before the end of the world. So Gabriel shows up at the bookshop with another head angel, and he's basically just like the most awkward alien man you've ever seen in your entire life. He's trying to get Aziraphale aside quietly, and the best he can come up with is, I need to buy illicit material in book form. Take me into the back room because I'm a human and I'm embarrassed by my illicit material. And Aziraphale's just like, wow, you did so good. The humans would never know that you weren't a human. That was incredible. Great performance. And Gabriel's like, thank you so much. I know what I'm doing. I'm so good at my job. They comment that something in the back room smells evil, and Aziraphale like almost wets his pants. He's like, no, it's the books. Some of the books are kind of bad. It's definitely not my demonic boyfriend that hangs out here all the time. Gabriel has come to tell him that things are going well. They're super proud of his work. The angels are getting ready and war is coming. Oh boy, we get some of my favorite scenes in this episode. Crowley is home in his flat and we get to see it for the first time. It's so different from Aziraphale's bookshop. Like Aziraphale's bookshop is very much like light academia vibes. I would say that. It's cluttered, it's cozy, it's lived in, whereas Crowley's flat is like marble and stone and red velvet and gold and like simple, like very minimalist but dark. He also gets checked in on. The demons are like, things are going so well. Like, we are almost to Armageddon. This could not be going better. And Crowley's just like, yay. Woo! Pastor reminds him that they're fallen and they can never forget that fact. And Crowley is like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to. It's a little hard to forget that. And he's like clearly upset, not really offended, but just like upset and annoyed. Pastor says, I don't trust you, Crowley. And Crowley is like, okay, and hangs up on him. Once he's alone again, Crowley quietly to himself is like, I didn't mean to fall. I just hung around the wrong people. Oh my God. God takes us over to the desert where she explains that the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are being summoned. They're being summoned by the summoner, who is this guy in a mail truck. We see him drive up to a former war zone. There's a meeting going on amongst all the people in charge. This lady shows up and she's like, oh, hello. I'm a war correspondent. I'm here to just do a story on everything that's going on. So then they all start arguing about who's gonna sign the paper first, and they end up drawing weapons on each other, and she's just over here laughing. The summoner delivers a sword to the woman. She's like, finally, and struts out of the war tent, and then everyone inside of it turns their weapons on each other and they all go down. Nice little montage of her running about through all the different war zones in the world, just like relishing in the killing. This is war, by the way, in case that wasn't clear. God then tells us that this story is also about a witch finder, and a book. We go back to 1656, to the last witch burning in England. We meet Witchfinder Pulsifer on his way to kill Agnes Nutter. She's been accused of being a witch because she like runs in the morning for her health and wants the townspeople to eat more fiber. Also, she cured multiple different people's illnesses, and this is how they repay her. Agnes is inside her cottage waiting and very aware that they're coming for her. When they get there, they're like, you are accused. And she's like, you guys are late. I was supposed to be burning like 10 minutes ago. What took you so long? She just struts out and goes to her pyre, gets on it, and just lets them start lighting things on fire. We do see that she's got something clinking around in the bottom of her skirt. Once she's up on the pyre, she tells everybody to come in close so they can find out what happens to people that meddle in things that they don't understand. Witchfinder Pulsifer looks at the bottom of her skirt, he sees gunpowder, they all explode. God explains that Agnes left behind a book and a box to her son-in-law and daughter. The book is called The Nice and Accurate Prophecies of Agnes Nutter. God tells us that this is the only prophetic book in existence that's been wholly and completely true. It has things from the moment Agnes wrote it all the way up to Armageddon. We cut to California, the night that the Antichrist was brought to the nuns. We meet little Anathema. Her mom is quizzing her on the different prophecies from the book. Her mom explains that Anathema has to get ready because the family was tasked with protecting the book, but Anathema is in charge of saving the world. Then we go to the super great whatever grandson of Witchfinder Pulsifer. His name is Newton. We're gonna call him Newt. He's in his room trying to fix a computer. Somehow, he makes it explode and it takes out like the entire city block's power. Then we see him older, going off to get a new job. His mom is encouraging him, even though it's clear that things have not been going well in the job front for him, and he's been having a hard time. He's also deeply afraid of computers. At the new job, he's putting information in, He hits enter and he breaks every computer in the office. So he's fired. He goes out to his car, and his car has the name Dick Turpin on the back of it. A lady walks by and is like, "Do you need a hand, Dick?" And he's like, "No, that's not actually my name. That's the car's name. You could ask me why I named it that if you want." But she leaves because she doesn't have time for him because he's a wimpy little loser at this point. We will come back to that little anecdote about him. I didn't just put it in. Anathema is also older, and she is coming to London. When the agent checking her in is like, "What are you doing here?" She's like, "Oh, I'm coming to use all of my cultivated witchcraft and power to hunt down the Antichrist and defeat him before Armageddon can begin." And the lady is like, "Huh?" And she's like, "I'm here on vacation." I love her. Newt sees this man standing on the side of the road preaching about witches and how their power is going to lead to Armageddon. Newt, somehow, because of course he does, gets recruited into the Witchfinder army because he needs something to do outside of the house, and he's bored. Anathema moves into the cutest freaking cottage I've ever seen in my entire life. Okay, all I want to do is be a little cottage witch living in the English countryside. Why is that so hard? We go back to Crowley, still talking to himself. He's now freaking out about how Armageddon is coming and he screwed it up and he's a demon and that shouldn't have been possible. So how did he do that? And it's just like a mind fuck for him. Crowley has plants. He's a gardener. He likes to cultivate life. We're gonna come back to that. For now, he's got his little plant mister and he's misting all his plants and he catches one with a spot on it. The plants begin to shake. He grabs said plant with the spot on it. He's like, "I told you motherfuckers. I told all of you that you needed to behave and you needed to not grow spots. So you know what happens when you get spots." He's holding the plant with the spot. All the other plants are shaking all around him. It's so funny. He tells the plant, "You disappointed me. That's what you did." And then goes to take it away and tells the other ones that they need to grow better, except he's screaming his head off. I'm not gonna scream right now because it's nighttime and I've got neighbors, but that he's yelling. So much so that God is like, "Do you see what he does? He puts the fear of God in them." Or more accurately, the fear of Crowley. That's why his plants are so pretty. They're the most beautiful, thriving plants in London. He comes sauntering back in with the empty flower pot and just looks at the plants like, "Do you see what you did? Your idiot little friend, I killed him." He's such a menace. I love him so much. Aziraphale is on the phone in the bookshop getting yelled at by a customer looking for a certain book. He doesn't have it. He's like, "That book on prophecies. No one knows where it is. There's no copies of it. I certainly don't have one. There's no need to take that tone with me, ma'am." And then he hangs up. Newt shows up at the address that he was given by that man who was preaching on the side of the road. He just went to his house, but a lady opens the door, and this lady is like making very sexual advances towards him. Newt is very confused. He's like, "I'm so sorry. I'm here to see Mr. Shadwell." And she's like, Oh, that explains why you look so horrified and confused. Okay, no problem." So she knocks on the door to Shadwell's apartment and is like, "Visitor for you. This boy is here." He calls her a harlot and tells her to go away. But then she is like, "Could you bring me back the dishes from last week?" They live across the hallway from each other in this apartment building, and it is very obvious that they are friends, but he would like to pretend like they are not. She is not offended by him. If anything, she is like helplessly endeared. In the apartment, Shadwell explains to Newt and us about the witch-finding army and how they've been hunting witches for years. Aziraphale calls Crowley. He has figured out that maybe, possibly, what happened is that the baby swap went wrong. We then cut to Crowley just absolutely racing that Bentley down the main streets of London. He's going like 90 miles an hour. It's a problem. And yes, Aziraphale is there in the car with him having a heart attack. As I was writing the script, I was going to tell you guys how funny his driving is to me on the second watch, because he just doesn't look at the road. He will like look away and like get distracted and let go. And while I was writing that down, he fully just let go and looked away and stayed like that for an extended period of time, just no hands on the wheel. He's a menace. He nearly runs someone over, and when Aziraphale is like, "Watch out for the pedestrian," His response is, she was in the street, she knows what she was doing. Aziraphale gets calmed down at least a little bit and is like, we just need to go get the records from the nuns. If we can get there and get those records, we will find out what happened to the other baby. He starts digging through Crowley's CDs and finds the Velvet Underground. Crowley is like, you're not gonna like that. And he goes, oh, bebop. We cut to Adam back in the woods playing with his friends. They're absolutely shocked that his dad let him keep the dog. And he's like, this dog was meant for me. It's exactly what I was asking for. Of course they let me keep it. We get a little more info here about the kids from God. So Wensleydale is a big ol' nerd. He will grow up to be an accountant one day. Pepper's family were hippies, and now they're sociologists. She is very opinionated. Brian is dirty. Adam makes a comment about how no one's gonna take his dog away from him. They're gonna be together until the very end. That's not ominous in the slightest. Anathema is using dowsing rods to try to locate the Antichrist, but it's not working. Pepper tells the boys that her mom is pretty sure that a witch just moved into the cottage. Wensleydale is like, witches aren't real, and also we got rid of all of them and they all burned at the stake and there's nothing to worry about. That's what the Spanish Inquisition was for. The other kids are like, oh, Wensleydale, you're so smart. That's right, that's right. And Adam decides, wouldn't it be so much fun if they started their own like British Inquisition and then they could hunt witches together? They need to practice though. Let's turn it into a game first. Crowley and Aziraphale roll up into Tadfield, which is where the nun hospital / Adam live. The kids run into Anathema. Wensleydale's got a big witch hat on now. At this point, they made him a prop, and they say that they're playing the British Inquisition and hunting witches. Naturally, she's like, oh, is that what you're doing? How do you play that game, little children? The kids are like, well, we just ask Wensleydale if he's a witch. He says no, and then we torture him until he says yes. And she's like, torture him? What do you mean? And Adam's like, we made a torture machine. Do you want to see it? And it turns out it's just a tire swing. So she does ask Adam if there's been any like great beast around, and he's like, just dog, but he's not really great or a beast. So Crowley and Zira walk up to the nun hospital. It's different, but Aziraphale is like, hold on, it feels very loved. This location is very loved. Crowley is like, the fuck does that mean, bro? And Aziraphale is like, oh, well, you know, it's like the opposite of when you like walk up to a place and you're like, ooh, I don't like it here. This location is spooky. And Crowley's like, yeah, no, I have never said that in my life. I'm a big fan of spooky things. My Halloween king, I love him. They walk into the grounds and are immediately shot by paintballs. This meme lives in my head rent-free. A guy comes up to them wearing like combat gear and is like, hello, you guys got hit, you're out. So Crowley just like morphs his face into a giant snake head and is like, and the guy passes out. Aziraphale is all upset because he got ink on his jacket, and Crowley is like, okay, so miracle it away. That's what, if I haven't said that yet, that's what like their magic is called. They call it like miracle, like using miracles, okay? So Crowley's like, just miracle it away. And Aziraphale's like, yeah, but like if I do it, like I'm always gonna know that the stain was there underneath the miracle. So Crowley leans over and it's just like, and blows the ink, like the ink disappears. And Aziraphale's face just like lights up like a little boy on Christmas. He's so happy and thrilled that he got Crowley to use his miracle powers on him. Just to ruin the good vibes of that moment, Crowley picks up the paintball gun and just starts waving it around. Aziraphale explains that heaven kind of disapproves of guns unless they're being used by somebody influenced by heaven, in which case they give weight to a moral argument. Crowley, as he should, laughs in his face and is like, let's go inside. We don't have time to unpack all of that. Inside, they realize that the convent hospital situation is gone. The nuns are gone, and instead, the area is now being used as like a facility where business people, you know, like office groups can come and like work out their frustrations against each other with paintball guns. Crowley snaps his fingers and turns the paintball guns into real guns. Aziraphale is horrified, and so were me and my fiance. So what happens is he like snaps his fingers and he's like, they wanted real guns, I gave them real guns. And Patrick and I were like, and we just like sat up and looked at each other so horrified. We cut back to people out in the fields playing with the guns, now shooting each other with automatic weapons. But it's okay, it's fine, it's fine. Crowley also made it so that yes, they're shooting at each other, yes, they're hitting each other. Somehow, everyone is miraculously surviving and everything's fine. Aziraphale steps over to him like all fond and he's like, you know, I've always said that like deep down, I thought you were just a little bit, and Crowley grabs him and throws him up against the wall and is like, I'm a demon, I'm not nice, don't tell people I'm nice. Sister Mary shows up and recognizes Crowley and Crowley recognizes her, and when she panics, he snaps his fingers and freezes her, and Aziraphale is like, we could have just talked to her, you didn't have to be rude about it, and Crowley's like, shut up. They figure out that she's the reason for the baby swap failure. So Crowley's like, oh my God, are you kidding me right now? And then even worse, they figure out that the fire destroyed all the records, so they have no way of finding the baby. As the husbands leave to go get back in the Bentley, the cops arrive and take everybody's guns away. So just in case you were worried about what was going to happen to those guys, they got stopped. They get into an argument because Crowley calls them both occult beings, and Aziraphale is like, I'm not a cult, you're a cult, okay? I'm ethereal because I'm an angel. Crowley is like, whatever. If we don't find this boy, it's not gonna matter what either of us are because we're all gonna be dead. God shows us Anathema working in a clearing in the middle of the night, and we have this wonderful line, it's one of my favorites, where she says, most books on witchcraft will tell you that witches work naked. This is because most books on witchcraft are written by men. Aziraphale starts having just like a little bit of a panic attack about how Tadfield feels to him because they keep like driving through like pockets of love, and Crowley is like, I don't know what you're talking about, but it feels normal to me and maybe you should just relax. And then they promptly hit Anathema with their car. She's on the ground, she was riding her bike and gets thrown because Crowley drives fast, so she gets thrown into the ditch. We're lucky she didn't get squished, okay? Aziraphale is like, let there be light, and the light comes on above him, and then Anathema freaks out and is like, how did you do that? And Crowley's like, oh my God, subtlety, you have none of it. He turns the lights back off. Aziraphale fixes her broken wrist and the bike while Crowley fixes the car because he's got different priorities. Aziraphale offers her a ride to wherever she needs to go, and Crowley is like, no, absolutely not. Aziraphale does not care and puts a bike rack on the back of the car anyway and insists that they're taking her. And as I said, Crowley can't say no to him. So Crowley just opens the door and is like, where do you want to go? Where can we freaking drop you off? I'm so happy to drive you home. They get back in the car and the Bentley starts playing Bicycle Race by Queen. It's also a little menace, and the Bentley being like basically sentient gives me life, okay? I love it so much. She's very confused because her bike pre-crash did not have gears and her bike post-crash has gears. So what happened? Aziraphale is like, that's so weird. I have no idea what could have done that to your bike. Strange. And Crowley with like a complete straight face just goes, oh Lord, heal my bike. And Aziraphale is like, shut up, just shut up, I got carried away. They're so unserious. I can't handle anytime, every scene. I can't. I can't. They drop her off back at the house, and Aziraphale is like, look at this, oh my God, your bike no longer has gears on it. That's crazy. Like, you must have been imagining the gears before. Goodbye, we have to go. Anathema leaves her book in the back of the car by mistake. Also in this scene, Crowley calls Aziraphale Angel. He does it a lot. It's absolutely a term of endearment. Fight me on it. Anathema calls her mom and is like, I'm having the most terrible time. Not only did I get hit by a car, but I can't find the Antichrist. I don't know where he is. Her mom is like, rely on the book. The book is never wrong and it will help you. The answers are in the book. And Anathema realizes, oh my God, I left the book in the car with those two weird men. The husbands have gone to a cafe. Crowley is having what I can assume is black coffee, and Aziraphale is eating a piece of cake. Aziraphale says that maybe they could have humans help them find the boy. Crowley is like, I don't know if you know this, but he's the Antichrist. so no one can find him. That's the point. Suspicion slides off of him like whatever it is that water slides off of. Aziraphale's like, okay, great, cool, awesome. Do you have a good idea? Or are you just gonna keep shooting down mine? We cut to the Youngs gently arguing in bed about the fact that Arthur let Adam keep the dog. Arthur is like, okay, look, yes, I gave in and let him keep it, but I said under no circumstances can he have it in the bedroom. Deirdre goes to check on Adam and he's asleep. And then, of course, the second she shuts the door, he's like, come on, dog. And dog comes out from under the bed and the dog is in the bed with him and Adam goes to sleep. She goes back into bed with Arthur and is like, oh, I was just checking on him. He's so sweet, isn't he? When he's asleep. And Arthur is like, yeah, when he's asleep. This dialogue is funny to me because Adam is arguably like one of the sweetest children ever. He's just kind of like precocious and funny and a little bit of like a twerp. There's nothing antichristy about him, and yet his parents always seem a little afraid. And then we go back to Adam in his room, and as he falls asleep, voices start whispering to him. So, the husbands are back in the Bentley. Aziraphale admits that he has a network of human agents, and he's pretty sure he could get them to help find the boy. Crowley is like, no way. I also have a network of human agents. I bet I could get them to help find the boy. Then Crowley just goes, ducks. And Aziraphale is like, what about ducks? And Crowley goes, they're what water slides off of. Crowley drops Aziraphale off at home and teases him about calling the Velvet Underground bebop. That came back around, you knew it would. Aziraphale then finds the book in the back seat and Crowley's like, absolutely the fuck not, I will not be returning that to her. That's a you problem, bro, figure it out. And Aziraphale's like, fine, I'll find her. And then he looks at the book and realizes it's the Agnes Nutter prophecy book and freaks out. Crowley realizes something is wrong and is like, you good? Where are you going? You're moving very quickly now. This is suspicious. Aziraphale's like, no, I'm fine. I'm gonna just, bye. And he just books it into the bookshop. And I would like to point out that this just sort of confirms that Aziraphale is so nutty and wacky and a silly little goof that Crowley, instead of being like, I should be suspicious of this and ask more questions, is like, okay, that was a thing, and he just leaves. God tells us that Aziraphale is very fond of his prophecy books. He's got a big collection, but he's never seen a copy of Agnes Nutter's prophecy book before. This is like a big deal to him. We get a precious little montage of him putting on his little like book gloves to keep the pages clean and getting all set down at his desk and all cozy. Love this for him. Then it becomes just him flipping through the pages like a madman, reading all the prophecies and like frothing at the mouth because he loves his books, okay? Food and books. Crowley is music and plants, the duality of ethereal beings. Crowley calls him the next day to ask if he's got any updates, and Aziraphale is like, why would you ask me that? Of course, if I had updates, I would tell you. We're friends, aren't we? Friends tell each other things, okay? So don't bug me right now. I'll call you when I need to call you. And Crowley is like, wow, okay, and Aziraphale hangs up on him. So using the book, Aziraphale puts together that the Antichrist is living in Tadfield, and he does not, in fact, call Crowley to tell him that. Instead, he figures out the phone number and calls it, and it ends with like 666, you know, spooky. It's Arthur Young. Adam is in the background yelling about how he just taught Dog how to walk on his hind legs. Aziraphale almost passes away on the spot and is like, sorry, right number, and hangs up the phone. Get ready for the epic slow burn fanfiction slideshow of your freaking dreams. Aziraphale is closing up the hole in the wall that Adam and Eve left through in the Garden of Eden. God shows up as like a beam of light and is like, where is your sword? What happened to it? And he's like, oh my God, I misplaced it. It's crazy, I'd lose my head if it wasn't on my body. Oops. We see pairs of animals heading into an ark. Freaking peak Crowley. Whatever they did to him in this scene, oh my God, what? He asks what's going on, and Aziraphale is like, oh, well, funny story. God's preparing to flood just the locals. I don't think God's mad at like China and Australia. They're fine where they are. But these guys are all gonna die. And Crowley's like, not the kids. You can't kill the kids. And Aziraphale's like, no, yeah. We're gonna be killing the kids today. That's happening. Crowley's horrified by this fact, and he even points out that it kind of actually sounds like something his side would do, not something Aziraphale's side is supposed to do. Aziraphale does point out though that like 2 of all the animals and Noah's family are gonna live, so it's not that big of a deal. And also, when it's over, God's gonna put up a rainbow to promise that God will never flood the earth again. And Crowley is like, oh, that's kind. Then Crowley yells out to one of Noah's sons that one of the unicorns is getting away. It gets away, and he goes, it's fine, you still got one of them. Ooh, this one is rough, okay? We are at Jesus's execution, and it is really hard to watch. It's a very emotional and accurate depiction of what happened, and it sucks. This is when Crawley like officially switched to Crowley, and this is when he tells Aziraphale that. He's still peak Crowley era. Oh my god. They talk about how much they both liked Jesus and thought he was a really good dude, and it's also kind of sort of implied that Crowley is, you guys know in the Bible where it's like the 40 days, 40 nights story, that was Crowley taking Jesus on a road trip. Crowley leans into Aziraphale and is like, what exactly did he say that got everybody so upset? And Aziraphale is like, be kind to each other. And Crowley goes, yeah, that'll do it. The sun sets while Jesus just like cries out in pain, and everybody just watches. As I said, it's very hard to watch. It's a dark scene. Aziraphale shows up. He finds Crowley in the bar already. He's like, oh my god, fancy seeing you here. You still a demon, I take it? And Crowley rounds on him and is like, what kind of question is that? What am I gonna be, an aardvark? Of course I'm still a demon. The chaotic, grumpy love of my life. Aziraphale invites him to go have lunch, and Crowley's like, oh, I've never had oysters before. And Aziraphale is like, oh my god, I have to tempt you into trying them. Crowley looks at him like, you have to do what? To what now? And Aziraphale is like, oh my god, I can't believe I just said that. That's your job. I'm horrified. Aziraphale shows up in shiny, beautiful silver armor, and he walks into a fog, and he's like, I'm here to see the Black Knight. Where is he? The Black Knight shows up and is like, you're here to see, I'm gonna kill you. And it's Crowley. So they lift their helmets up and they're both like, oh my god, bro, what are you doing here? It's crazy. What are the odds that we're here together in this damp, horrible place? Crowley says that he's there because King Arthur's been too good, so he's been like spreading discord through the land. And Aziraphale is like, okay, well, I'm here because you've been doing that, so I've been stopping all the shit you've been doing, bro. And Crowley is like, you know, that's interesting. So like, we've both been here, and we've both just been canceling each other out. So it's almost like we didn't even need to be here at all. Like, we could have just said we were here and lied to the home offices, and no one would know the difference. Aziraphale is horrified. He's like, I can't believe you would even suggest such a thing. Absolutely not. We're not having this conversation. Goodbye. Shakespeare's time. This is so fun. Look at these costumes. Look how cute they are. So Aziraphale is like listening to Hamlet, and Crowley shows up, and Aziraphale is so fond when he like appears beside him. Crowley always shows up like on the left, so he'll just pop up and be like, surprise, I'm here now. And Aziraphale is always, the whole time, he's just like, oh my god, yeah, you're here, look at you, you're so cute, oh my god, I missed you. And it's just, it's so cute. It's everything to me. They are everything to me. I love them so much. Aziraphale is loving watching them work on Hamlet. Crowley is very bored and would just prefer to be doing anything else, but he came because he wanted to see Aziraphale. I think it's very funny that Aziraphale likes the tragedies and Crowley likes the comedies. Again, the duality of ethereal beings. While they're talking, they realize that they're both supposed to be in Edinburgh at the end of the week to do different things for their different head offices. And Crowley once again suggests that one of them could go and one of them could stay home. And Aziraphale is like, oh my god, we have to stop doing that. And it turns out that they have come to like an agreement somewhere along the lines. Crowley got his way, and they have been like, occasionally when they both are supposed to go somewhere, just one of them will go, and the one that goes will do the tempting and the blessing, because it ends up like knocking things out. So the work is still getting done, but the home offices don't know that it's not the two of them actually doing every single job. Initially, Aziraphale is like, no, we're not doing that. We need to stop doing that. And Crowley is like, bro, don't play with me right now. We're not gonna have this argument again. Heads or freaking tails. Loser has to go to Edinburgh. Crowley wins, and he's like, I'm staying home. Yay. Hamlet is tanking at this point, and Aziraphale is like, and Crowley agrees to come and see it and like make sure people come. So he's gonna like miracle it into being a success for Aziraphale because he likes the tragedies. Aziraphale is in jail. They are guillotining people outside, and he is just sitting with his little hands in his lap, listening to the chaos. Before he can be taken away by the guard, somebody snaps their fingers, and then Crowley appears. He's like sprawled out in the little like cell door. He's sitting on like a ledge, just like completely like so dramatic and ridiculous. And he's like, what are you doing in here, Angel? How did you manage to get yourself caught? You're lucky I was here to save you. And Aziraphale says that he came over in the middle of the revolution for crepes. I wish I was making that up to you. I wish I was joking, but I'm not. Crowley wants to know why he didn't just miracle himself out, and Aziraphale says that it's because he got in trouble for doing too many like frivolous miracles, and he didn't want to get in trouble again. And definitely not because he wanted a date with Crowley, and the only way to get them back together quickly and efficiently was to get himself caught. So they put the guards in Aziraphale's clothes, and then they go out to lunch. Sad, sad, terrible scene. Terrible. They're standing at the lake. Aziraphale is feeding the ducks. Crowley is watching the ducks. We are establishing now he also likes ducks. Crowley says, what if something goes wrong? Listen, we both have a lot in common, don't we? And Aziraphale is like, no, actually we don't, because I'm an angel and you're a demon. So you fell, and we're not alike anymore. This is the iconic, I didn't really fall, I just sort of sauntered vaguely downwards line from Crowley. It lives in my head rent-free. Crowley insists that he needs insurance because he is afraid of hell, okay? It will make more sense later, but for now, he's just nervous. He wants to make sure he has like an out or an escape or a backup plan, however you want to look at it. That's what he's asking for. He gives Aziraphale a note with the thing that he wants written down on it, and he's like, I can't say it out loud because the trees have ears. Aziraphale opens it, and we see that it says holy water, and he's like, no, are you insane? I'm not gonna give you something that you can kill yourself with. This is a suicide pill. Absolutely the frick not. Crowley says it's not like that. He just needs the insurance in case things go wrong. Aziraphale gets all snippy, and he's like, you know, things could go wrong because they could figure out that you and I are fraternizing together. And Crowley is like, fraternizing? And it gets real heated real quick because it suddenly becomes an argument, and they say things they don't mean. So Aziraphale's just lashing out about what could happen if heaven and hell find out that they're working together. And Crowley is like, I don't need you. I've got other people to fraternize with. And Aziraphale's like, great. Ask one of them for help. I don't need you either. And then they separate from each other. They don't see each other for a while. This one's my favorite. This one's my favorite. I love this one. Aziraphale is in a church meeting up with some Nazis. He is giving them books for Hitler, but it turns out, no, he's not. He got the cops involved, and he was trying to take down the secret spy ring that the Nazis were operating. But then, no, it turns out again, the Nazis and the cop lady were in on it together. She's not a cop. And they played Aziraphale for a sucker. They go to shoot him, and Aziraphale is like, you really can't kill me. There will be so much paperwork. Do you know what happens when I discorporate? It will not be good for anyone involved. Don't worry though. Here comes Crowley. He is having a hell of a time because he is a demon in a church and it's consecrated ground and he can't just like stand on it. So he's like tippy-toeing and like prancing all around in the background of the rest of this scene. He's come to save Aziraphale and keep him from being embarrassed. The Nazis are like, what exactly are you talking about? What did you come here to do? He's like, here's the thing, because remember, he can't stand still, so he's jumping around. He's like, here's the thing, there's a bomb, and the bomb's gonna land on the church. So if you guys run away right now, really quickly, you might make it, maybe. Then he looks at Aziraphale and he's like, if we want to survive, me and you, my friend, we would need a real miracle for that to happen. Aziraphale is like, a real miracle. The bomb drops, the church explodes, and then it like shrinks down in, and we see Aziraphale and Crowley standing in the rubble together. Aziraphale is like, that was very kind of you. And Crowley tells him to shut up. Then Zira starts freaking out about the books because they got exploded in the bomb too. And Crowley reaches over and plucks up the briefcase and is like, little demonic miracle of my own. Lift home, and he just leaves. He just yeets out before Aziraphale can say anything, and he misses completely the look of love and adoration that just like melts onto Michael Sheen's body in that moment, and he just like stands there in a daze. Say what you want, but this is one of the moments where Aziraphale is like, oh no, oh, I love the demon. I like him. I like the demon. Oh no, oh no. This one is so funny and wild and out of pocket that my partner was like, what is going on? Are they on a movie set? What's happening? Because Crowley is setting up a heist to rob a church, and it's in the 70s, and it feels like a ridiculous heist movie. It like doesn't feel like the same show for this entire little blip of a scene. We meet Shadwell for the first time as a young man. This is how he meets Crowley. He tells them about the witch-finding army, and he's like, if you ever need our services, just like let me know. Crowley gets into the Bentley, and Aziraphale is in there already waiting for him. He says, I also live in Soho, which, yeah, I mean, of course, that's where Crowley was putting the information out into the universe. Come on. Aziraphale is like, I live here, I've been hearing what people have been saying, and I can't let you do this. He doesn't want him to rob the church and risk getting hurt, and we find out that the holy water will not just like kill Crowley's body, it will like kill him entirely and like destroy his being, like his soul will be gone. So he brought him a little thermos of it, and he's like, he hands it over and he's like, don't unscrew the cap, please. This is one of Crowley's. Oh my god. Oh my god, I like the angel, don't I? Oh no, he gets so soft after the thermos gets handed to him. Like initially he's just his normal, kind of like vaguely grumpy, a little bit snippy, but not really. That is how he's talking. And then all of a sudden he just gets real soft and quiet. And he's like, so, can I take you home? Do you want me to drive you home? Aziraphale's like, no, but maybe one day we could have a picnic or eat together at the Ritz. Crowley is like, no, really, like, let me take you home. Like, I will drive you anywhere you want to go. Where do you want to go? I will take you there. Say the word, we will go. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't matter how far. I will get you there tonight, right now. Where do you want to go? And Aziraphale is like, you go too fast for me, Crowley. Gets out of the car and leaves. We're done with the flashbacks for right now. We go back to Aziraphale in his bookshop hanging up on Arthur Young. Then we see him panicking and trying to figure out how exactly he's gonna tell Gabriel what happened, and the other angels are gonna be listening, and he's very nervous. We get a nice montage of God explaining to us about the dog and how it's not super great at being a hellhound because Adam wanted it to be like a normal dog, like intelligent but normal and definitely not evil. Adam and Dog walk up on Anathema smashing flower pots in her garden and crying. Adam offers to help her look for her lost book because he is a sweet, sweet boy. She asks if he's seen two men in a big black car, and he says no. He realizes she lives in the cottage, and he's like, excuse me, but if it's not too personal of a question, are you a witch? And she's like, no, I'm an occultist. And he's like, oh, oh, that's no problem then, and she invites him inside and he just goes along with her. Dog can't go inside though, because there is a horseshoe above the door. I love that they put that detail into the story. Adam insists though, he's like, come on dog, come inside. And the dog can go in because Adam insists, and a little bit of hell gets sucked away. Newt is in Shadwell's apartment looking at all his weird witch-finding things. We get a silly little witch-finding army backstory. It's not super important, but it does happen. Crowley meets up with Shadwell. Shadwell thinks that Crowley now is the son of the Crowley that he met in the 70s. Crowley summoned him there to send him after an 11-year-old boy living in Tadfield that may or may not be a witch. Anathema is answering all of Adam's questions. She's telling him about how her family has magical powers. They can find ley lines. They can see auras. She tries to read Adam's aura and she can't see it. She gives him a little monologue about all the things that school isn't teaching him and how school is not good enough and he needs to be learning other things too. He is enthralled, enraptured because he's an 11-year-old boy and school sucks. She ends up giving him some old magazines that have things like Atlantis and aliens mentioned in them, and he is so excited to read more about the stories she was telling him. Zero goes up to meet with the archangels. He tells them that he thinks it's possible that maybe Crowley lost the Antichrist. Michael's like, no, that's not possible because currently right now the forces of hell are taking the Antichrist to the secret location in the middle of the desert where Armageddon is supposed to begin. Zira is like, yeah, I know, but like Crowley is like such a bad demon, and I just think he goofed a little bit and something happened, and so the baby that you guys all think is the Antichrist like isn't the Antichrist. But don't freak out, I can go get the real one and I can fix it. Gabriel is basically just like, yeah, you need to get it handled because Armageddon needs to begin. Okay, the angels up here want to continue the war with the angels down there, so we can't stop that from happening. It's the great plan, Aziraphale, okay? It needs to happen. Fix it. Anathema is using her pendulum and walking about the village, looking at everyone's auras. There's a cute moment where she looks over at a couple and their aura is the same. It's like conjoined. A neighborhood watchman comes over and he is super rude to her. She tries to get information about the beast or the Antichrist. He basically just starts yelling at her and is like, oh, why don't you go back to America, lady? Gabriel and the other angels talk about how they no longer trust Aziraphale. Newt is at Shadwell's working. Aziraphale calls Shadwell. So yes, these idiots picked the same group of humans to work with, and neither of them realized that. Newt tells Shadwell that there is a town in Oxfordshire that has perfect weather no matter the time of year, which for England is like unheard of. Shadwell is like, that's not a witch, okay? That's just a weird anomaly. Keep looking for actual witchcraft. All right, meet Famine. He's out at a fancy restaurant, you know, the kind where like nobody eats and the portions are just like incredibly small. The summoner shows up and delivers him his scales. He nearly collapses to his knees. He's so excited. He's a businessman in the world currently, and he tells his assistant to cancel everything. He's going to England. Newt asks again to go to the village because he is pretty sure that's where he's supposed to go, and Shadwell realizes, oh my god, it's Tadfield, isn't it? Crowley calls Aziraphale and is like, meet me at the third alternative rendezvous. Aziraphale is like, oh my god, is that the bandstand or the bus or that other? And he's like, the bandstand, I'll be there in 15 minutes. Hangs up. The Youngs are watching bad TV together and Adam is still reading those magazines, and because he is an 11-year-old child, he believes that everything he's reading is truth, but his parents are like, no, that's not real, that can't be real. And he's like, it's in a magazine, of course it's real. I'm going to bed, you guys are ridiculous. Sad scene, prepare yourselves. The dads are fighting again. They meet at the old bandstand. Gorgeous scene, look, so cute. Crowley wants news, updates, anything. Aziraphale lies and doesn't tell him about finding the kid, because Aziraphale is worried that if he tells him, he will be going against the grand plan, and then that will be a bad thing to do. Crowley goes off about the great plan and how stupid he thinks it is and how it's a big bunch of nothing. Aziraphale's like, wow, okay, may you be forgiven. Crowley's like, where have you been? I'm a demon. It's in the job description that I'm unforgivable. That's the point. That's why I'm not an angel anymore. Why exactly do you think we fall in the first place? Crowley's pretty set on killing the boy at this point, but he's not gonna do it because he doesn't kill kids. And Aziraphale is like, well, I'm certainly not gonna do it. I'm the good one. They hit an impasse and Crowley's like, you're ridiculous and I don't even know why I'm talking to you anymore. I'm leaving. And he just storms off. Aziraphale is like, where are you gonna go? There's nowhere to go now. Crowley rounds on him and is like, it's a big universe, and if we wanted to, we could go off together. Soft music begins to play. We zoom in on Aziraphale and he's like, go off together? Crowley is like, look, we've been friends for what, 6,000 years now? And Aziraphale is like, we are not friends. I don't even like you. Crowley is unfazed. He's like, yes, you do. Aziraphale just keeps going and is like, even if I did know where the Antichrist was, I wouldn't tell you because we're on opposite sides. Crowley is like, we're on our side. Aziraphale is like, there is no our side. You're a demon, I'm an angel. No. Crowley's very hurt. He just sort of stands there, makes a few random vocalizations, and leaves. And as he's going, he's like, anyway, have a good doomsday. Bye. He tends to just like stutter whenever the emotion that he's feeling is just like too much. It's adorable. It's an adorable habit. Adam is up in bed still reading. He goes to sleep and the voices start whispering to him again. They're saying things like, make it real, Adam. You can do it. Make it real. It's real if you believe. Believe in it, Adam. Change it. Change it, Adam. Make it real. We cut to a nuclear power plant that is going berserk. No one can figure out why. They open it up to check the reactor. The reactor is gone, and instead, there's just a little sherbet lemon down in the bottom of the thing. If you'll remember, there were sherbet lemon candies in bed with Adam. Yikes. So that was the first 3 episodes of season 1 of Good Omens. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next update. Not sure when episode 2 of this series will be coming, but it is coming because, as I said, I've hyperfixated. These 2 have taken over my life. I will never know peace again. Please, let's talk down below. I would like to know your thoughts on the show, your thoughts on the characters, your thoughts on the episode, your thoughts on the moments, your thoughts on fan fictions, your thoughts on anything and everything. My socials are down below, so if you'd rather connect somewhere else, come and find me. I'd love to talk to you about the ineffable husband brain rot because it's eating me alive. Just remember though, especially down below here, tag your spoilers because season 2 did just come out and there are a lot of people that still haven't seen it yet and I don't want to spoil anything, okay? So I know this is season 1, but just in case, I know what happens in season 2, so if you want to talk about it, you can just tag your spoilers. I hope you guys are having a great day and a great week, and I will see you so soon. Have a good one. Bye.